Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We're looking at our favorite video of the day, player props here in this one. A bunch of guys out all over the place with COVID protocols and some injuries, as we know, in the NBA. So we'll be taking a look at some of these player props that you can get tonight as a result of that. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to the page. Got a couple other videos up with a couple other games in there today for you as well. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for these player props for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm going to lead with Jaylen Brown, who, as I wrote this and put some money down, he was getting 29.5 points and rebounds. Then it was ruled that Jason Tatum is going into health and safety protocols. So now his props are moving. I would expect the points to go up here. So maybe I would look at targeting the rebounds instead. You could get 8+ rebounds in a win at plus 400, because we're looking at a Wolves team that's missing their entire big three, Cat, Russell, and Edwards, along with several other guys. Might not have Patrick Beverley. And if you just look at when Cat is out since 2020, they're 13-40. Their field goal percentage drops to about 42%. They score 4.5 fewer points per game, but play at a blinding pace of 102.7, which would be fastest in the league this year. So that all equals a lot of rebounds. And then this season, there's the 6th worst rebounding team at home. Jaylen averaging 26.5 and 5.6 rebounds per game on the road, a lot better than his home splits in a smaller sample size this season. He's getting 25.5 points and 6.5 rebounds on great shooting splits in his last 2 against the Wolves, and has really been cooking in his last 5, 26.5 points per game out of 32% usage rate. Obviously, that should go up without Tatum here. And I think he gets his against a Wolves team that can't really guard the wing with so many guys out that are important to that.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's weird that D'Angelo Russell impacts their defensive rating so positively. But yeah, it's really about whether or not they have those big three in for Minnesota. And also, if there's no Jason Tatum for the Celtics tonight, then you automatically just go and find Jaylen Brown stats and props and you try to hit those. So I completely agree with that tonight. Only, that your point was only exacerbated by the fact that obviously Jason Tatum now in those protocols as well. So feeling good about JB in this one. Another former Celtic here, actually, scary Terry Rozier in that game, the Houston Rockets and the Charlotte Hornets. We could have probably just taken all 4 of our props picks today from that game, considering that total is all the way up to about 235.5. Yeah, 235.5 right now on FanDuel and DraftKings for that game. So there's going to be a ton of points in it. We know both of these teams don't play defense. These are the 2 teams that, it's basically the Charlotte Hornets and the Charlotte Hornets light in terms of how the Rockets play. So, you feel really good about the fact that the Rockets also give up the 3rd most points per game to opposing point guards, where Scary Terry will be starting tonight. And the last time he actually played Houston, Scary Terry went for 31 on November 27th with about a 26% usage rate on 43 minutes. He actually seems to like playing Houston. He gets a ton of minutes there too. In his last 5 versus the Rockets, he's averaging about 23 points per game on some really nice splits, 47, 46 from 3 and 95% from the line with a really nice usage rate there as well. So I think you consider that, he's the guy that seems to be putting the ball up against the Rockets, as in the last bunch of times that they played them with this iteration of the Hornets. And I think you feel pretty good about his points tonight as a result. And you can just get 18.5 on FanDuel, minus 116. If you think the Hornets are going to win tonight, which they should win, and I do think they will, him to just get another 1.5, they're 20 in a win for the Hornets tonight against the Rockets. You get plus 196 for Scary Terry there. So I think that's where, that's the number one prop I feel good about in this game, despite that you could probably pick up a couple of others as well.
Yeah, and he's confident at home where he's shooting 48% from the field versus about 38% on the road. Should be very confident in this matchup against a Rockets team that's, not bringing any defensive presence on the perimeter and is just content to play a run and gun style. You could consider betting the over in this one, even as it is at 235 because of the way these teams play. So the Mavericks quest on without anybody And they're lucky that they face a Blazers team that might have nobody as well. Damian Lillard is questionable for personal reasons, while Nurkic, Covington, obviously CJ McCollum's still out. And they're missing several other guys that are going to be important in terms of trying to guard the perimeter here. Yeah. So Jalen Brunson is the man once again for Dallas. No Luka, obviously, no THJ, Reggie Bullock, Trey Burke, or Maxi Kleber. And without Luka this season, you just look at the huge numbers increase for Brunson. Goes from 13 points to 20 points per game, goes from 27 minutes to 36 minutes. Usage rate goes from 20 to 26%. So the props are adjusting to a degree. I mean, over 21.5 points is pretty high, but we're talking about a Blazers team that gives up 22 points per game to starting point guards. It gives up the second most triples per game and is dead last in percentage in that regard. So for Brunson to score that much is not really a long shot, especially when you consider all those guys out and who he's going to be working on, Anthony Simons most of this game. In his last 5, he's averaging 23.5 points and 8 assists per game on a 26% usage rate, playing 38 minutes out of necessity. You can look at him to get 25 points in a win at plus 158. I don't know how much we trust Dallas on the road, but I think I do trust Brunson to get his points because, he's been the closer for them. Luka getting about 6 points per game in the fourth quarter this season. In the last 6, Brunson is getting 6 points per game in the fourth quarter, and the Blazers happen to give up the most fourth quarter points per game. So you can expect him to kind of give you a nice sweat maybe and come through down the stretch with a few points to get over that points prop.
Yeah, for sure. And, I don't know, like you said, if I feel good about the Mavs winning this one, but I've loved Jalen Brunson ever since. He's been there. He's always been a solid guard who you could argue could be a starting point guard on a number of other teams as well. And might be making the case for himself this season. But those 21.5 points, he just does that when Luka's out, as we know, especially in those the last 5 that they've been playing. So, Brunson's a good pick always as soon as you see Luka out right now, especially. So, lastly, ending on another point guard here, Mike Conley Jr. on the Jazz, who have somewhat quietly, honestly, snuck their way into easily, another top 3 team in the West there with the Suns and the Warriors. And Mike Conley's been a big part of that, and they are playing the San Antonio Spurs tonight, who have just turned into a complete offensive juggernaut, as well as just an offensive-minded team, putting up a ton of points, going over in most of their last, I believe 7 of their last 8. But they're doing it everywhere now, the Spurs, in terms of playing that fast pace, which really it should be helpful for the Jazz tonight. Taking them on. They're in San Antonio. Yeah, exactly. They're in San Antonio, where the Spurs play at that faster pace as well. And Mike Conley seems to enjoy playing those Spurs. Another guy that seems to have a good career numbers against them in 12 straight meetings with the Spurs. He's scored double digits. His points prop tonight is at about 16.5. But you look actually at a little smaller sample size, just his last 7 against the Spurs, about 20 points a game on 5 assists in that time frame. So I think you consider no DeJounte Murray tonight. The Spurs are also on the second leg of a back-to-back, and their defensive rating goes way up without DeJounte Murray, about 114 points per 100 possessions since last season. So that's about 11 games, which is good enough sample size for us to say this is a much worse defensive team, especially on the perimeter when DeJounte is not around. So you consider there's going to be, I think there's going to be a ton of points tonight. It is a Jazz game as well as a Spurs game as well, who add to that offensive mindedness as they've been playing that way lately. Last prop I would consider if you want to get a little bit more juice there for Mike Conley, if he gets 4 3-pointers made and a win, you can get plus 310 on your money on FanDuel. He's been hitting from 3 at a pretty nice clip lately, and does seem to like that spot against the Spurs as well. As we mentioned, no DeJounte Murray. They give up a good amount of points to opposing point guards as well, do the Spurs. So I think 17 points should be pretty good for Conley to come by tonight. And if you really, really want to hit that juice, like we said, those 4 3-pointers made and the W gets you triple your money there for Mike Conley tonight.
Yeah, because he went 4 for 10 from 3 when the Jazz actually lost 128-126 to the Spurs 10 days ago, put up 18, 6, and 6. So that would get you over both the points prop and the 23.5 points assists if we get that again. And really for the Jazz, it's key when they're going to get into close games to take their starters, because Conley's averaging under 30 minutes per game. He's got nice per 36-minute numbers. Right. but will he get that run? And I think playing on the road at San Antonio, which has just proved that they can keep pace even if the Jazz are lighting it up, I do like him to finish this game, and that to help him get over the points prop for sure, potentially hitting 4 threes, and helping the Jazz get that win.
Yep, absolutely. That is all the time we have for this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to the page. Got a couple other videos and a couple other games we're looking at tonight on this Monday night slate. Until we see you next, happy betting.